Hello and welcome. My name is Kirsten Foss, and this is the new Living by Numbers podcast. If you've been following me for a while, I have been very much niched into the beauty and wellness space as far as entrepreneurship, but I have been feeling a calling to pull back from that niche and that kind of pigeonholed purpose and zoom out a bit so that I'm focusing more on life and career. This change is coming because that's where I am in my life. I am fully feeling the whole big picture in terms of life and career, not just career. So that's where my own business is taking me, and I shall guide you as well. So we will be focusing on life and career. It's not going to be niched into beauty and wellness. So if you have friends or family or colleagues that you've been wanting to share the numerology with, but it's just too focused on business, now you can share this openly because I'll be able to share with you the highs and lows and how these energies are going to be showing up for us in our personal lives and in our career. All right, let's get to business. So, this is June 2025's podcast. And before we get into the energy of June, I always like to debrief the previous month that just happened because when we are learning how to use numerology in our lives, whether it is for our personal life or for our career, it really does help to have a little bit of guidance and also to not just be told what to expect, but also be able to reflect on actually what happened. So May was a five energy month. We figure out the universal energy of the month by adding up the digits of May. So five plus the year, plus two, plus five. And it comes up to a five energy month. And what that meant was for the month of May, we were all experiencing the highs and lows of the five energy. So that five energy is all about change. Like anytime you see fives, it means change. Now, it's not just change to be disruptive. It's not just change to, make our lives difficult. It's change for the very specific reason to help us fine tune where our purpose is. So if we're kind of going along on a path that we're distracted on, anything that comes up with change is often meant to help redirect us. So if it felt chaotic for you, it wasn't random, it was meant to redirect you. Now, I also want to say that if you are experience five energy, like any of these months, if you experience these energies like really big stuff, like it feels like you're experiencing the high highs and you're feeling the low lows, that sometimes happens, but it doesn't always necessarily play out that way for everybody. So for myself personally, I've had a lot going on in my personal life. My dad has been very ill, and the whole family has come together to support him and his wife. And so I felt the four energy of April very intensely, both the high of the four, hard work, family, stability. And I also felt the very low vibration of that four too, which is instability. So then we moved into the five energy of May, and the five energy of May is about change. It is about freedom through discipline. Now, that can feel really chaotic if you're in an intense situation, but it doesn't have to be. So, if you feel like you're plugging along at life, there's nothing really big happening, that's okay. You can still use these universal energies to help plod your course as well as to live very intentionally. Because when you know the high vibration and the low vibration that's coming down the pipe for the month, you can be very intentional about how you act and how you show up in it. So, five energy of May might have felt a lot restless. It might have felt just a little restless. It might have felt a little unfocused. It might have felt a lot unfocused. Either way, If you'd watched the or listened to that May forecast, you would have also have heard that the medicine for the chaos was play and fun and adventure. It was, tapping into that little bit of that wild woman energy, that little bit of that feralness energy. That is also the five. So we can soothe when we're in the low vibrations of anything, we can soothe them by looking at the high vibrations. So let's talk about what we're moving into. So the five energy of May, change, freedom through discipline. We are now moving into the next phase of our manifestation cycle, which is the six, and that's all about balance, harmony, and karmic adjustments. Now, when we get into the six energy, balance, harmony, and karmic adjustments, you may be feeling a bit, you may feel the high vibration of it, but of balance and harmony and peace. And it's also that kind of mama love energy. Like everybody just you want to just for everybody to get along. But if it's feeling off kilter for you in June, if you don't feel like you are in balance, whether it's with your personal life, relationships, just yourself, the direction you're going, if you're feeling like something's off at work and your career, maybe you're in like a total toxic environment and you've had enough. But it doesn't even have to be that intense. That maybe you just have this inkling and niggling feeling that there's got to be something more for you. That's just six energy bringing it up for you. It's not to show you or tell you that that you're a failure. It's simply feedback, okay? Balance is not about peacekeeping. It's clarity with compassion. I want to say that again. Balance is not peacekeeping. It is clarity with compassion. Right. Let's talk about in more details about this six energy. So I was saying the six energy is kind of like mama energy. My numerologist, Megan Alton, she's my mentor. She always explained it like it's kind of like a warm blankie and a hot cup of cocoa on a cold winter afternoon. It's just that soothing, nurturing mama love energy. It's the energy that creates loving boundaries because those loving boundaries actually create the harmony. Now, for those of you that struggle with perfectionism or struggle with people pleasing, this month is going to be a big one for you. And again, it's not to show you or to point out that you're not good at something or that you're a failure at relationships. It's simply to share with you feedback that there's something imbalance going on. And it's simply asking you for a little bit of course correction to help balance you. But the hard part is for those of us, I call myself a recovering people pleaser, but for those people that are people pleasers, oh, that friction that you feel in your heart when you have to say no to somebody, or, when somebody's doing something and you have to be like, hey, hold up, like, no, that's not okay. It feels disharmonious for you. But the big lesson for June is that your boundaries are what creates peace. All right. So loving boundaries, they create the harmony. Deep nurturing is part of the sixth energy for yourself and others. So I do see a lot of ruling number sixes in the beauty and wellness space when I've been working with them because they're the natural nurturers of all of the ruling numbers. So if you're new here in numerology, a lot of this is based on your ruling number. So when we figure out your ruling number, we just add up all the digits of your birth date and reduce it to a single number, numbers between 2 and 11. And that gives you what your energetic code is for this lifetime. So if you're wondering, like, what am I supposed to be doing in this life? Like, what is my purpose? The fastest, quickest way to figure that, the kind of the big picture of it, is to figure out what your ruling number is. So for those of you that have a ruling number, we also call it a life path number in numerology. If you're a life path ruling number 6, you're going to feel these highs and lows, especially this month. So that deep nurturing of the six energy, most ruling number sixes are really good at giving that deep nurturing energy and struggle with receiving it. So if that is you, if you are a chronic people pleaser and you are an overgiver, this is your month. The challenge this month is to care deeply for yourself. Look, folks, we got to put the oxygen mask on ourselves. If you consider yourself, a service provider, if you are a caregiver, if you're a parent, if you just consider yourself a nurturer, this is about putting the oxygen mask on yourself first before you serve others. Because just like if the airplane's going down, you can't help anybody else to put on their masks if you don't put on your own first. Okay. This is self preservation for the sixth energy. Another high vibration of the six is service from the heart. Again, this is why I do see a lot of ruling number sixes in the beauty and wellness space or service provider space. I would happen to guess there'll probably be a lot of sixes. And I think ruling number nines in nursing, any kind of caregiving role. You would be naturally attracted if you are ruling number six to these kinds of roles. Beauty and creative expression is the six to the core. Now, if you have a lot of six in your code, so if you're not a ruling number six, but you have a lot of sixes in your birthday, that means you have a lot of six energy in your code. And the six energy is perfectly designed to be in service to others from the heart, not out of obligation. Okay. But that beauty and creative expression, a lot of times I've noticed in my career with beauty and wellness entrepreneurs and other service providers and caregivers, is that they often sometimes don't think that they're creative. And this doesn't mean that, you're not okay. You don't have to be good at painting, a scene. You don't have to be good at like in the traditional sense of creativity. That might not be you. But there are so many ways to be creative. And that's why I did see a lot of sixes in the beauty and wellness space as entrepreneurs, because if you're an entrepreneur, that's a huge creative project, right? Is your business. So if you're really number six, if you have a lot of six in your code, and because this month is a universal six, it is asking us to tap into our creativity, to tap into our creative expression, to create beautiful things. Now, the sixes also has a visionary ability to improve environments, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of times this ruling number six, or if you have a lot of six in your code, you like a beautiful space. Okay. So don't be surprised if whoever you know is a six, or if you are a six. I would not be surprised if you've got, a really nice home. And I don't even mean like you don't have to have a big expensive place, but you've created beauty in your home. You've created beauty somehow in your career, in your work environment somehow. But the six energy loves to improve the environment somehow, either through beauty or creative expression or nurturing that kind of energy. Here, let's tap into the low six vibration. People pleasing and over functioning. Classic low six vibration. So this month, I really want you to put a pin into this whole people pleasing situation going on and over functioning. Um, Especially as women, we do tend to overfunction. So here we are with the opportunity to just pay attention to how we are overfunctioning, how we are people pleasing. And if you are really entrenched into this habit, because that's what it is, it's a habit, and your code, it's easy for your code to get into that habit. This might be the month. Just pay attention to all the places where you're people pleasing and over functioning. Even if you don't feel like you can do anything about it at the moment, just the awareness is huge. Just to pay attention to where you're doing this. Perfectionism is one of those really common pieces for that low vibe six, and perfectionism to where it just paralyzes you. So maybe you've been thinking about next steps for you and your career or your personal life or relationships. The six energy this month may get you feeling kind of stuck, but just recognize that this is just a low vibration. You're not stuck. It's a perception. And it's your perception because it's easy for you to get stuck in perfectionism. So what we're looking for is we're looking for progress over perfection. So write that down, put it on sticky somewhere, put it in your phone where you see it. Progress over perfection this month for sure. I also notice with six energy can be a bit of a drama llama. Six energy is good at playing the martyr. Poor me. But it all that does is it creates a lot of drama. So just catch yourself when you're feeling like, pouty pants and like time to we're in a nine energy year, which is about higher perspectives and your own inner wisdom. Time to tap into that high vibration of the nine this year if you're feeling kind of pouty pants about something. You're just creating more, it's just creating drama and distracting you from moving forward. That's what that is. Conflict, avoiding conflict. That's another classic low vibe of six. It's the people pleasing. It's like, yeah, yeah, it's okay. I know that really ticked me off when that person did that. But I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to rock the boat. That may show up for you this month. Just catch it. Just be aware of it when it happens. Don't judge yourself. Just like, oh, look at that. Interesting what I did there. And then maybe the next time the situation comes up, you are choosing that conflict avoidance. I'm going to give you a really great resource to be able to get over this whole conflict avoidance thing. Because when we avoid difficult conversations or awkward conversations, it diminishes our own energy, it diminishes our own light, it diminishes our own personal power. And so when that all diminishes, how is it possible to have peace and harmony? Right. So I'm going to give you a really strong resource for that. And last one for the low vibe of six is being a little over controlly in the guise of I'm helping. Again, it just watch for that because it can be a little sneaky with this six energy because the six energy wants to help everybody. But if you are not feeling in your high vibration, and maybe if you're feeling resentful because you are people pleasing, it's that could, this whole over like helping in the, but it's actually in the, you're actually controlling things. It's easy to slip into. Those are old habits that you don't need to use those anymore because once we are able to shift into our high vibration, once we are able to use tools, like I'm going to give you a tool to have difficult or awkward conversations, you don't need to be over controlling. It's just you can just say what needs to be said. You can just say what's on your heart. It doesn't have to be nasty or mean. You can say what's on your heart and work through an issue. Um, oh gosh, I'm totally blanking on her name. Um, it'll come to me eventually, but I've heard her saying a lot, we can do hard things. Glennon Doyle, thank you. Thank you, Kirsten. I remembered it. We can do hard things. And I use that as we can talk about hard things. When we are in relationship with people, I always feel like if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I'm assuming they trust me, I trust them. And I'm also going to assume that we can have these awkward or difficult conversations and they don't have to blow out or, be overly dramatic. We can just have these difficult, awkward conversations. We want to try those when they're small. Try this awkward conversations first before you move into the difficult conversations, but start small so that when it really matters, you can have a difficult conversation and not just feel gutted and lost inside. So, let's talk about how this six energy of June, we're in 6 months of the year. All the numbers for universal energy add up to six. So we've kind of got double, double going on. How is this going to show up in your personal life this month? So, in your personal life, if you've been holding space, emotional space for others, but it's starting to feel overwhelming for you, the six energy this month is asking you to set boundaries. Okay. I also think that you'll just feel inspired and want to beautify your home, beautify your garden, just kind of making your home homey and feeling safe and nurturing. So, whether you decide to redecorate and paint, or just plant something new, shift things around, get a new indoor plant, but just it's about shifting your space to feel more emotionally peaceful. So my birthday month is in June, and I do have six in my chart. And I've always, like, my home has always, like, I've always just felt like I want to be home. I've not really ever felt like I was the wanderer, the traveler. Like, I like traveling, but for me, home is peaceful. And especially if I can be home in June, it feels especially peaceful for me. And, yeah, just for me, homey, homey, homey. Sometimes because also work from home, I find I'm like, when was the last time I got off my property? But it's because that's part of my code, is to create a peaceful, nurturing home that I feel safe and peaceful in. Okay, as far as personal life, if you are navigating relationship dynamics that are, um, you know, uncomfortable, things are going on, or if you're in a relationship dynamic where you're expected to fix everything, your job and your lesson this month is to love without rescuing. It's really hard in the six energy because the six wants to be codependent, quite frankly. The six wants to overdo for other people so that they don't end up doing for themselves. And then there's this big imbalance. So if you are in a relationship and the dynamic has to do with, you know, you're carrying all the emotional load, mental load, you're doing most all of the emotional labor this month, that's going to be asking you to stop doing that because it is eroding your own peace. Okay. And remember, we're in a nine energy year for 2025. Every single month, it is going to keep asking us to let go of whatever is not working for you. All right. So it might feel a little intense. Let's shift into career and entrepreneurship. What will the six energy look like for you? So, if you are taking on too much in your work, if you are over delivering just to prove your value, it's time to step back and reassess. I had a work strategy call with a client yesterday, and if you're listening, you will recognize the conversation, because we were talking just about this. Like, she's working in a role that doesn't fulfill her at all. It's a job. It's in her industry, but it's not fulfilling her. She's good at it and really good at it, and she keeps over delivering because her own little business is struggling. And so there's this kind of imbalance here where she's kind of feels like she's in the middle. She's got a job that pays her, that's taking up too much of her time, and she over delivers in that anyways, but she over delivers because she knows the to-do steps. That part's easy for her. But with her entrepreneurship, it's more of a struggle to come up with those to-dos, right? Because you have to not only hustle for clients, but you're also implementing and giving the services. So, one role is taking away from being able for her to be able to put into her own business. And so we had a big part of our conversation was like, it's time to step back in the job and not over deliver. Just do the job. No more, no less, do the job. So that she can take the over delivering part and put it back where she feels most purposeful in her own business. So that's an example of how you could be taking on too much and over delivering because it's easy for you, right? A lot of us are, recovering type A personalities where we are like, we never feel like we are, um, we're not kind of quite good enough until we keep over delivering, and then we'll feel our self-worth. That's all that this month is actually teaching us, is that you're great at giving what you give, and you don't have to give anything over and above that. What you give is enough, but other people have to meet you other halfway. Over delivering isn't going to fix the relationship or the business. Okay, another aspect where you might feel this six energy is, well, essentially kind of getting to this point where you need to align with your job or your career or like your entrepreneurship, whatever it is. It has to have deeper meaning for you. And because of the nine energy of the year, it keeps kind of pushing up against that, saying, yes, this has to be aligned, or you have to, it's time to let it go. So, this alignment in your work has to do with beauty and harmony and service. It has to do with creating harmony from where it comes from your purposefulness, not out of duty and obligation. Okay. Now, if you have a business, you might be wanting to beautify your business, and that could look like you want to refresh your branding, maybe refresh some of your offers, even kind of refresh the content that you're creating for social media and all your marketing. But what I want you to remember here is to remember about the perfectionism piece that comes in this month. So, by all means, get creative, but watch for that little a bit of perfectionism energy coming in and kind of trying to sabotage you, right? Progress over perfection. Now, the other piece I want to say about, like, if you want to rebrand, that's one thing. But I also want you to be clear about why you are rebranding. Don't rebrand just because you're bored or, because you need something new. That is a classic example of distraction, rather than focusing on what needs to be done. So if your branding truly needs to be done, June would be a great time to do it. All right, now I want to share with you this resource that I have when we're talking about boundaries. I love talking about boundaries because I struggled with my own boundaries. I wanted everybody to be happy. I am a nurturer. It comes to me so naturally. I am a giver. I'm a really good caregiver. I know how I'm able to see, if people are suffering even just a little bit and offer my assistance. But that has absolutely gotten me backed into some corners in my life, some really big, painful corners, and some little ones that keep freaking irritating me. Until I finally realized that boundaries are an act of love, not rejection. They're an act of love for me. They're actually an act of love for the other person involved in the situation, because it stops the codependency, right? So I want to recommend this book to you. If you've been around my little world for a long time, you've heard me talk about this book before. It's called The Power of a Positive No by William Ury. And I had this book, oh, I th- 15 years now. It was recommended to me by my very first business coach, Andrea J. Lee. And it's an easy read. And it's really written by William Ury. He's a negotiator. He's an expert negotiator. And this book, honestly, is really good and can be used for work, uh, entrepreneurship. It can be used with your kids. It can be used with just general people like friends. It can be used with husbands and wives and partners. It is a very simple framework for how to say no. And I know so many of us struggle to say no. And yet it keeps eroding every time we say yes when we want to say no. It erodes our own personal power and autonomy. We gotta we gotta get healthier at saying no. All right. So Give this, if you struggle with saying no, absolutely give this book a read. In fact, you probably don't even have to get through the whole book, honestly. You can read like the first part of it and get it. But essentially, there is four parts to it. It goes yes, no, yes, plan B. So the first yes is to yourself. So let's say a situation where I have a friend that is struggling financially and they've asked to borrow money, a kind of a chunk of money. And it's my part of my values that I don't loan people money, especially friends, maybe family, but not friends. So this is a really awkward conversation to have, right? Now, the first yes, the first part of the formulation is yes, and that yes is to myself. I'm saying yes to my own values, my own personal values. So it's a little internal check-in. Yes to me. I don't do this. I don't give money to friends. The next part of the formula is the no. And this is where I say to my friend, I'm so sorry. I don't actually feel right about lending money to friends, to any friends, quite frankly. And then we shift into the next yes, which is I'm going to finish my conversation and say, so I can't lend you money, but what I can do is I can go with you to the bank if you want somebody to come with you to go get a loan. I can help you fill out the form. What I can do is maybe help you brainstorm about how to make some little side hustle extra cash. What I can do is help you sort out a budget and maybe a payment plan for your credit cards. So that's what I can do. Now, if my friend gets really mad at me and says, "What kind of friend are you? We're not friends anymore." I actually would have had to decide what my plan B is. Because if she gets mad at me, um, what do I say now? I still am going to say yes to my own values and what I believe in. So I need a plan B. And my plan B will be is that maybe this friendship is over. Maybe this is a situation where it just revealed that we're actually not aligned in our friendship. And I need to be okay with that. I need to be able to, that's going to okay with me to walk away from the friendship. Now, this is a very simplified version of an example of how this can work, but it works really, really well. In fact, I went to go find this book and it was in my husband's bookcase in his office. So he works in government. And I know he's bought copies of this for his many team members as he's moved across around government. It's that good and it's that simple. So it really just reframes the idea of, saying no creates conflict. It doesn't, but it's easy how we've grown up, how we've learned to have conflict growing up. We may have kind of gotten things a little messed up. So this helps to absolutely get you to protect your peace. Now, one of the quotes you might hear me saying, I've said it to clients before, is that boundaries are not what you say. Boundaries are what you do. So it doesn't matter how many times you tell somebody, you've crossed a boundary. I've told you what my boundary is. Doesn't matter. Boundaries, you say it once, maybe twice. But boundaries are what you do after you've said it. And that's hard. It's not easy. I'm not saying it at all. But this is about how badly do you want to protect your peace? How badly do you want peace? In my life, it got to a point I wanted peace so badly, I was unwilling to compromise my own peace any longer. And that's how I got to this point of really, really understanding my own boundaries. That it's not what I say, it's what I do. So let's talk about move into like this kind of more of the personal and collective lessons for this June because we're in 6 energy month about balance, harmony, and karmic adjustments. We're also in a 9 energy year about endings and cleaning up stuff because 2026 is a 1 energy year for all of us universally. It's a new, fresh start, new beginning. And there's stuff we're always going to have to clean up before we start something new. Just as the human experience, we tend not to want to clean stuff up. It's more fun. It's a better dopamine hit when we can just get to the new fun stuff. But we need to be intentional about clearing up the old stuff so we're not unintentionally dragging it forward into our next phase of our life that hopefully is more aligned with our own purpose and our own hearts. So the nine energy this year is saying what's done is done, let it go. But the six is asking us to do it beautifully with intention and self respect. Okay. So, one of the things I was talking about earlier was that the six energy is about creativity. And for those of you that don't see yourself as creatives, I would like you to reimagine your own creativity because this month, part of the high vibration is going to be seeking out ways to express yourself creatively. So, whether this is redecorating or reorganizing, um, clean out a closet. That always feels good, especially if it's like your wardrobe. Give yourself a summer glow up. Give your closet a summer glow up, and give your own wardrobe a summer glow up. Um, it doesn't, I'm not saying like go out and buy a whole new wardrobe. I'm just maybe there's things that you don't wear. I love going to checking out thrift stores. I love repurposing things. I've recently got into sewing my own clothes because I love the idea of upcycling. I also can't find stuff that I actually really want to wear. So I've been really I've been activating my own creativity that way. It looks like gardening, crafting. You could be refinishing furniture, even, or it might even look like journaling, or even using AI, something like ChatGPT, to activate the inspiration. I love how some people are using ChatGPT. And speaking of summer glow up, I actually saw on TikTok there was a gal who used ChatGPT, asked it to give act as a stylist and give her a summer glow up that she could do for herself. And it was really fun to see what that looked like. So it gave her like hair color, what makeup it would recommend for her for a summer glow up. And it was really cool and like just really fun and entertaining. But use ChatGPT for that. That's a massive tool for creativity and inspiration. Now, if you are a Life Path 6, back to you folks, your superpower is your vision, your harmony, and your creative transformation. So if you are not already stepping into that, it's time. It's time. This is your month to lead by example when it comes to those things. It's not like you're doing it for anybody. It's just you're nurturing yourself, you're honoring those six energy high gifts, and you're allowing those around you to witness that. And that's that part of leading by example. So, if anything has been like popping off for you, questions, or you're wanting to know about your own energetic blueprint when it comes to numerology, one of the things I recommend that you do is that you always start with your numerology blueprint reading because that gives you a really deep understanding of how you are specifically coded. And why why you do the things you do, why you say the things you say, why, and also it will point out, um it will help you identify your low vibrations, which you'll be able to be like, oh yeah, I recognize those. So it's confirmation of your low vibration, and it's also confirmation of your strengths, the high vibration for you. So if you haven't already had a numerology blueprint, I definitely recommend that's the place that you start, because then once you understand your code, we can have other readings like a timing reading in terms of like what's coming down the pipe for you specifically for the year, or having just a life or work reading where you're bringing questions to the table and we use your code as well as the situation to help strategize and plan your next steps. So if you haven't already had a blueprint, I recommend that you book that. You'll find those links on either the show notes or on the website. And if you've already had a blueprint reading, then it might be time for you to book a life or work strategy call. If there's other people in the situation, bring their birth dates because we can sort out why this is working the way it is for you. So, balance is not about making sure that everything is even. It's more about creating harmony that works for you, not for everybody else. And a lot of times with a low six energy, it works for everybody else and it doesn't work for you. Now, one more thing, I want to share with you some power portal days. Now, normally I was leaving the power portal days for my Soul of Business membership, but I have just recently closed that because I'm not kind of focusing on business anymore. But I do want to bring you a few power portal days so that you can start looking at your calendar. Like I have just one of these kind of cheap calendars, and it's that was mailed to me. I think this is the British Columbia Magazine calendar, and I put the numerology energetic codes for the month on here, and I look for patterns. And that's a lot of with numerology is pattern recognition. And so the patterns that I want to share for you have to do with the container of June. What does the container of June look like? Well, it's six energies. We've just talked a lot about that. But the actual container of this month's energy, it starts on June 1st with a seven energy and a three of spades. This energy, like right out of the gate, is an, the beginning of the month. If you're listening to this on the 1st of June, it's about a day to turn inwards and reflect on your creative expression. So the seven is the reflection, the three is the creative expression. And remember that your creative expression is tied to your emotional expression. So if you at all are feeling emotionally like unexpressed, you will find your creativity feels difficult because those two things are tied together. So what the first day of the month is showing you by the codes on this day is that the medicine this month is creativity, beauty, and self-love. So make a list of what that looks like for you. So I just talked about a few examples. Those might not resonate with you, but make a list of things that resonate with you that have to do with beauty, creativity, and self love. Okay. Now, the end of the month is a nine energy day and a king of hearts. And how I interpret this is basically how did your medicine go this month? How did that medicine of creativity, beauty, and self love go this month? Because that nine energy and the king of hearts, it's wrapping up the month with higher wisdom about how you give and receive love, that balance. So I look at the end of the June that day, particularly as a congratulations, you just had an emotional intelligence upgrade. If you were really paying attention to and working with the energies of the six energy this month. So that's the container of June. Okay. Now we have a little bit of a runway, second week of June that I'm noticing in terms of when we're talking about pattern recognition. And it's June 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And it also, the 11th is a full moon. So there's some intensity in there. So the ninth is about karmic adjustments, about your relationship with money and power. So what is out of balance with that power dynamic? Okay. Now, this is what I'm talking about. It's a runway that's happening 3 days before the full moon. There's this question about your relationship with money and power. And it might be just your relationship with money and power, but it might be people that have money and power dynamic over you. Okay. So that's the kicker that kicks this off. So that's Monday the 9th. Tuesday, June 10th is a seven energy day with a seven of diamonds. So based on the energy that came up for you on the 9th, today, that day on the 10th might be require some quiet reflection about that whole thing about your balance, how you feel, how balanced do you feel about money and power? Is it balanced or is there an imbalance somewhere? And that the 10th is asking you to bring data and intuition to that question. And to, once you have the data and the intuition, then trust your instincts about what you value most with this rebalance of power. What needs to be rebalanced? So that 10th is going to be, it needs the inner reflection and it needs your intuition and the data to actually see what is actually happening with that power imbalance. Then we move into Wednesday, the 11th, and that's the full moon. It's an 8 energy day and a 6 of diamonds day. So now the energy shifts to actually balancing the power differential. So remember, a full moon is kind of like a bubble pop. It's like a big, it's been building energy, building intensity, and it's a big release. Okay. So on the 11th, you should be feeling a little bit more clear about that power differential and what's going on with it. And it's the time to make a decision about your peace. You're saving yourself. This is karmic rebalancing. The 6 energy is about karmic rebalancing, not just about balance in general. Okay. So it's the karmic rebalancing about letting the shit go. Okay. So don't be surprised if there's like feels like a bit of a bubble pop on the full moon in terms of money and power and kind of all of the things that you might not have been wanting to look at because it feels uncomfortable and because, you might need to be having some awkward or difficult conversations. But first, it starts with yourself and this awareness. And I feel that this is what from June 9th until the 12th is doing. It's kind of creating a runway up to the full moon, gives a pop. And then on the 12th, the Thursday, the 12th, it's a 9 energy day with a 5 of diamonds. And that is like the 9 is having that higher perspective. The 5 is about change in what you value. So this might show up as, in terms of feeling relief about a decision you've made or having, like just having awareness, really clear awareness. You'll feel relief, but don't be surprised if there's also grief. This is where this balance topic of balance comes in again. We can feel both. We can feel relief and grief at the same time. So don't be surprised if relief and grief is part of what you feel on the 12th. And so when we're feeling both of those things, that 5 energy is really just asking us to hold the line in terms of your boundaries and moving forward. So it's going to require you to hold the line, be disciplined about those boundaries that you've just realized, because this week was just the tipping point of that. Now is time for that work to, for you to implement that work for yourself, whatever that looks like. So, what you know at that point on the 12th. Just keep moving forward and using play and adventure and fun to soothe any of the anxiousness that you might feel. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in your own life. And it can be very subtle, and it could be very intense. It's hard to say. But now there's a little runway, there's a little something, something happening for the second week of June. Now, I think all the other power portal days that I've got marked down for the rest of the month, you can find me on social media, Kirsten Foss Numerologist on Instagram and on Facebook. And I will, as the days get closer, I'll be doing stories so that you can see what the Power Portal days are about, what you want to be focusing on them so that you can essentially move through these portals, energetic portals on the other side and not keep getting stuck and blocked and having to have the same situation come up over and over again, right? It's a human experience. We have to learn things over and over until we get them. All right, my friends, that is it for the June numerology forecast. As always, please let me know what your experiences have been from the month before, what you noticed, what were your ahas for May, and what I've just been talking about for June in terms of balance, harmony, and karmic adjustments. What's niggling at you as far as, oh, I think I have some stuff to work on. And I want to finish by saying when we talk about karmic adjustments with the 6 energy, karma is here for us because for thousands of years we've needed karma to actually help us learn our lessons. Karma just pushes us into a corner and makes us deal with stuff. But please understand that as the more you become aware, the more you are on your spiritual path and your own spiritual journey and learning about your inner world, the less you will need karma to back you into a corner. Because as an aware individual, you are choosing to work on your stuff. You're choosing have those difficult conversations, have the hard conversations. You're choosing to have more discipline with yourself. So sometimes karma is about like past life readjustments. Um, but just know that some like karma often has a bad rep because it will often feel really intense, but that's really just because we've often needed to feel the intensity to be back into a corner and feel it real hard before we actually really get it. So remember, the more aware we are, the more we choose to explore our inner world, our spirituality, explore the quantum field, um, the less we have to have karma kind of bitch slapping us and having it hurt a lot more. All right, my friends, please share your experience, what you've noticed. I would love to hear it. Until then, find me on social media and we will connect over there. Happy June.